Good afternoon and welcome to ZTN News Blitz, our top stories. Increased teacher complement, Zim government told. Will Zinwa boreholes answer Bulawayo water misery? We will tell you more. Zambia sex workers praised for COVID-19 contact tracing. And in sport, 10 months on, more cheers for Zim's lady Chevrons. Zimbabwe needs to increase its teacher complement as government moves to resize classes to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Zimbabwe's teacher employment is presently on a freeze as the country keeps its wage bill on check. Takawa Firajo, leader of the Progressive Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, says an additional 40,000 teachers are needed.
A paradigm shift in terms of teacher-pupil ratio, because we know there are classes that have a teacher-pupil ratio that even goes as high as 90 or 98. So what it implies is that if we then use World Health Organization standards, we need to employ more teachers, because the current complement of 130,000 teachers is not adequate. We need about at least 50,000 teachers to complement the current 130.
According to the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, there are at least 130,000 qualified teachers currently practicing in Zimbabwe. At least 4.5 million learners are found in more than 900 primary and secondary schools countrywide. The president of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, Obed Masaraure, echoed the same sentiments, adding that resized classes will improve the quality of education.
We even consider lower classes. We don't even meet the recommended 1:25 teacher-learner ratio, which is really a disservice to the teaching profession. We have a shortage of over 80,000 teachers, and we are not only asking government to give us those 80,000 teachers, but if they could add more teachers to really address the issue of social distancing, which has been born out of the coronavirus.
With the Bulawayo City Council having released a water rationing schedule ranging between 48 and 120 hours in the past few months, called the recent program by the Zimbabwe National Water Authority, Zinwa, to drill boreholes in the Nyamandlovu aquifer bring an end to this challenge? That is the question many Bulawayo residents have. Now, due to consecutive seasons of poor rains, the water situation in the country's second biggest city has deteriorated. This has been worsened by decommissioning of some water sources. However, Zinwa says its interventions in the Nyamandlovu aquifer will bring about the much expected change regarding water supply in the city of Queens and Kings.
The timelines were not really sure. Our original plan was 8 weeks to complete, but now taking into cognizance the fact that it's the emergency situation in Bulawayo, all our hands are on the deck trying to ensure that we complete this job in the shortest possible time. With the interventions happening at the Nyamandlovu as well as the Mchabe pipeline that is augmenting supply, I'm sure the water rationing issues will ease up a bit for Bulawayo.
The Zimbabwe Republic Police continues its blitz on individuals who flout lockdown regulations amid indications that the number of offenders has increased since lockdown conditions were relaxed. That's a week ago. Now, offences include moving in public areas without wearing a face mask, which attracts a fine of 500 Zimbabwe dollars. National Police spokesperson Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati could not immediately confirm the number of arrests that have been made so far. He instead referred ZTN to the official ZRP Twitter handle, which is it will be updated at 2 p.m. today.
An update. I have to be giving an update. I think we'll just do it to put it on Twitter. Because most of the cases are being taken to court. We just tabulate the arrests which have been made so far.
With almost 2 weeks after the 2020 tobacco marketing season began, activity at the auction floors has been subdued. Some players in the sector have attributed this to the restrictions in the movement due to the national lockdown, while some farmers have been struggling to access transport recommended by the authorities to avoid crowding at the floors. But besides low activity currently being witnessed, the average percentage price has gone up by 48.1%. TIMB Chief Executive Officer Dr. Andrew Matibiri says the auction floors will soon be busy.
It's early days, so there's no real pattern at the moment that we can talk about. Yeah, most of the offerings are of the lower quality, the lower leaves from the plant. And a lot of farmers are saying that they're only given less than a few days notice on the opening of the floor. So they are only now starting to grade their tobacco in earnest. So expect sales to pick up, in my view, perhaps from starting about next week. Yeah, if you go into auction floors now, they are processing 400 bales per day. When it peaks, they can process about 16,000. So it's very, very low. That's why I said there's no real pattern to talk about yet. Let's see, and let's wait until perhaps the end of next week. I think deliveries will be up.
Sex workers in Zambia are helping to trace people who have contracted coronavirus after a surge in new infections at the border town of Nakonde. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya has said 76 of 85 reported new cases in the northern town were either sex workers or lorry drivers. Zambia has confirmed 267 COVID-19 infections with 7 deaths. Last week, President Edgar Lungu announced the reopening of restaurants, casinos and fitness centers after a month-long shutdown to enforce social distancing measures. Boris Johnson has unveiled a conditional plan to reopen society, allowing people in England to spend more time outdoors from Wednesday. The PM also said people who could not work from home should return to the workplace but avoid public transport. He said a new COVID alert system with 5 levels would govern how quickly lockdown restrictions could be eased. He expressed hope that the next step at the earliest by the 1st of June will be for some primary pupils to return to school in England. Now taking a look at sport.
The shape of a plan to address both fears, both to beat the virus and provide the first sketch of a roadmap for reopening society. A sense of the way ahead, and when and how and on what basis we will take the decisions to proceed. I'll be setting out more details in Parliament tomorrow and taking questions from the public in the evening. I've consulted across the political spectrum, across all 4 nations of the UK. And though different parts of the country are experiencing the pandemic at different rates, and though it's right to be flexible in our response, I believe that as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, there is a strong resolve to defeat this together. And today, a general consensus on what we could do. And I stress could, because although we have a plan, it is a conditional plan. And since our priority is to protect the public and save lives, we cannot move forward unless we satisfy the 5 tests. We must protect our NHS. We must see sustained falls in the death rate. We must see sustained and considerable falls in the rate of infection.
Taking a look at sport, spare thought for the Zimbabwe Lady Chevrons. It was heartbreak enough when they missed out on the T20 World Cup after Zimbabwe cricket's suspension by the International Cricket Council ICC. And just when they thought cricket was back, with the quadrangular series in Thailand scheduled for March, a coronavirus struck. This means that the World Cup's qualifiers set for Sri Lanka in June and July are also in doubt. A Lady Chevrons captain Mary-Ann Musonda admits disappointment.
I know the urge is there to just break out and, go out there and play again. And also to the cricket fans, it's IPL season. You always want to be on your phone, checking the online scorecard, seeing what's happening out there. But for now, we really have to stay indoors and play our parts in avoiding the spread of COVID-19.
Should we brace for another Mike Tyson-Evander Holyfield fight? Well, everything seems to be going that direction. This is after Tyson announced that he is willing to dust off the gloves and fight in a charity match. Holyfield is also open to a Tyson match. The two had a famous rivalry back in their prime, and in their last match in the late 90s, Tyson, now 53, bit off Holyfield's ear and got disqualified. They have become friends since then. Taking a look at tennis, organisers of the French Open, which was postponed from May to September, say the clay court Grand Slam could be held without fans. In such a scenario, tickets purchased for this year's French Open will be cancelled and reimbursed. Plans to play without fans will reduce the losses by saving television rights deals and also partnerships. Certainly looking forward to the Tyson-Holyfield rematch. Certainly looking to more stinging punches and hopefully less teeth. Today's edition of News Blitz comes to a close, but for more news, do visit our social media platforms at ZTN News on Twitter, our website ztn.co.zw. Thanks for watching.